Welcome to Oulton Park. It's the penultimate round of the Aprilia Super Teen Challenge. Riders aged 12 to 18. There's only a few more races left. And today they face the tricky and testing Oulton Park. Joe Francis and Tom Oliver. It's down to them to win the championship. Welcome to GP Racing Dream.
Hello again and welcome to GP Racing Dream, featuring the amazing Aprilia Super Teen series that runs on the Thundersport GB bill. This is motorbike racing at its finest, and this is one of the finest circuits in the world, Oulton Park in Cheshire. Glorious parkland setting. People already gathering to enjoy superb racing. It's been very wet overnight. And Steve's on the grid.
So here we are on the grid then. It's still very wet here at Oulton Park, and on pole position, Harry Coomber, number 61. Great to see him at the front. He could really get in amongst the pack here. Number 40, the new championship leader on home turf. He could wrap up the Aprilia Super Teen title here. Third on the grid, David Allingham, fresh from the confidence, of course, from Brands Hatch. And the man who challenges Francis for the championship, Tom Oliver, number 20. He has got to finish these races and ideally win them.
Thanks very much, Steve. Yes, brilliant. High anticipation here at Oulton Park. As you say, young Joe Francis, number 40. This series, of course, for between 12 and 18-year-olds. And Joe Francis, still just 13 years old, has almost got one hand on the championship trophy for 2011, but many a slip. And look at these conditions, very slippery indeed, Steve.
Yeah, not ideal conditions, and that could really throw a spanner in the works. It's the penultimate round here, and it's also worth mentioning double points on offer as they get away, and it's a cracking start from Harry Coomber, and Tom Oliver on the inside got away well also.
Yes, they squeezed down there through the first corner here at Oulton, the notorious Old Hall corner. That's where the literally there was an old hall that stood there. Beautiful, great building built by Sir John Vanbrugh, but now completely flattened, but still remembered in the name of the corner. Down they go through the avenue and into Cascades, and then the long run out along Lakeside. Beautiful setting here, Steve, but these young riders will be concentrating on the grey strip of territory ahead of them.
Yeah, all of these riders will be on the wet Dunlop tyres, and very, very grippy as they make their way into the well-banked Shell Oils hairpin. And Harry Coomber there, number 61, the young rider from Radstock, really getting away well. He's got a couple of bike lengths lead over Joe Francis, championship leader, remember. Only a few races left in the season. He's got a 40-point advantage over Tom Oliver, but they do all drop around, which is well worth remembering.
Yep, there we saw Bradley Jones. We can see him there in the blue leathers as they come over Hilltop and charge down towards his chicane. Harry Coomber in the lead there. Joe Francis, number 40, up into second place. And then the pack, look at them, they've got to break right and then left round, and it gets very slippy through the centre of that chicane. Then they've got to be very careful to stay off the curbs right here at the exit of the chicane as they blast up Clay Hill.
Yes, got to be ever so careful of the high side through Hizzies and up through the woods here, and it was David Allingham, I believe, that's managed to get up into third place. Tom Oliver, who really needs to finish ahead of Joe Francis here today, is back in fourth or fifth position, but at the moment Francis has managed to get himself up ahead of Harry Coomber, so championship leader leads.
Of course, young Joe from Chester, just up the road from here at Oulton Park. Now, a local boy, but can't really call it a local circuit. Oulton Park has restricted use during the year. He won't have been out on this track, I think, at all before this weekend. He is, remember, of course, one of the Nitro newcomers, which means this is his first ever season racing on proper big circuits. He's put in some fantastic performances. But yes, familiar with the territory and a short run home, but it doesn't mean to say his circuit knowledge is any better than anybody else, but he leads at the moment from Harry.
Yes, that battle for third position hotting up. David Allingham, Brad Jones, and Ross Twyman is no doubt going to feature in this race because he is very, very good in the wet weather conditions, as we've seen. And Harry Coomber around the outside now, and he's going to have the inside line into Shell Oils, but does Joe Francis know he's there? He certainly does.
Brilliant stuff. Oh, that was superb. Outbreaking into the banked hairpin there, and Harry Coomber leading this one. Of course, Harry Coomber is a former race winner. He won a few months ago at Donington Park, didn't he?
Yeah, he's got peppered wins throughout the season, really. He's taken 3 or 4 this year, but really failed to find any consistency. He's certainly had 1 or 2 problems during qualifying at a few events, but there's no doubting that he's got the talent to win these races. Francis it is that leads from Coomber. Number 3 there is David Allingham, up ahead of Bradley Jones, and then just behind Jones is Tom Oliver and Ross Twyman. Well,
there we go, 5 race winners in the top 5. And David Allingham, well, he's another Nitro newcomer, of course, like Joe Francis, but really has come on strong in the last few events. We will be amazed not to see him up the sharp end. There we see Louis Dawson's bike, I think, number 34, just being wheeled away by the marshals. He's okay. But out of this one, as Joe Francis once again leads down into Lodge Corner. And look at, oh, goodness me, I thought Tom Oliver was going to stick it up the inside there. Down D'Elite they go, up over the bump and onto the start-finish straight.
Harry Coomber is in second position, and Joe Francis really doesn't need to play around too much. As long as he finishes ahead of Tom Oliver, he'll extend his championship lead, and we go into the final round at Mallory in a few weeks' time, and it would be so simple for him to clinch the crown, but he's getting himself involved in a bit of a battle here with Harry Coomber, and that could well be dangerous. Oh, and David Allingham, a little bit of a front-end wobble there down into Cascades.
Yeah, I can't stress how difficult it is for these youngsters. You're absolutely right, Steve, with the grip of the Dunlops, but my goodness me, this circuit is very, very greasy and can catch very, very experienced riders out. We've seen the slippery surface flag being held out there at Shell Oils hairpin, but they are doing fantastically well to once again be this close, fighting it out in the racing, but stay on board. Joe Francis, well, it seems to be that his decision is sit out the front. Maybe that's a way of staying out of trouble.
Yes, of course, double points here as well would mean that if he was to win the race, 50 points certainly would help him towards the championship glory, but we've seen so many times in the Aprilia Super Teens history that it most of the time goes down to the very last race of the year. That battle for third now is got another rider included, as Ben Luxton has tagged himself in.
Yeah, good old Ben. We've seen him so often this year as part of these league battles, and it wouldn't be quite right if he wasn't there. Yes, the other thing about double point rounds, Steve, is that it's a huge penalty, because if you don't finish, if you have a DNF, then it's a double penalty because everybody else scores double points. So it can be really, really critical.
Number 99 just going through, that's Callum Grigger, who's up in the points at the moment, and that looked like Josh Hill alongside him, number 23. There's some vast improvements as you go down the list on the timing screens. Female rider Charlie Oakland, a young girl, number 19, is doing very well up in the points as David Allingham lunges up the inside of Ross Twyman.
Yeah, and lining each other up, aren't they? Tom Oliver's just got ahead of the second part, if you like, of the chasing bunch. There we see the 2 leaders going through, Francis and Coomber, and look at Oliver there in 4th place, doing exactly what you said earlier, what he has to do. He cannot afford to let Francis get away too far up the road. And I have to say, Tom Oliver does appear to be responding. He's broken away from that little battle, and he's trying desperately to get on terms at least into 3rd place.
There's number 19, Charlie Oakland. We just saw 41 Milo Ward going through, another newcomer this season. Yeah, Tom Oliver really does need to get on terms with Joe Francis. Here is the race leader and the championship leader, and it could all be over today here at Oulton Park. Oliver there has got a little bit of work, though. He needs to try and get past Bradley Jones, a rider who, had he have started the season the way he's ended it, would probably have been battling for the championship himself.
Yeah, he's as quick as you like, isn't he? But Brad has at least taken his win. He got his first win there at Brands Hatch. You're quite right. Before that, he couldn't buy a win, but he was always in the top 3, sometimes with fastest laps. He's always had the speed, but it's only now, as we get to the latter stage of the season, where you're beginning to look for him always up the front and being there when the checkered flag comes out.
George Stanley, another newcomer that could well be a favourite for next year's championship going through, and 111. That is Sam Smith.
Ah, Sam Smiths. They make a fine pint of beer. I'm not sure that is Sam, though. I think it might be more than one of them. There he goes through Hizzies, and again, starting the blast up the hill, up Clay Hill, as it were. Now, over the ripples and bumps. Here comes Francis, just going past one of the back markers there. That's Zach Caudry, number 122. There, Ross Twyman ahead of Ben Luxton.
Yes, Ross Twyman, very smooth in the wets this season. We've seen a number of times where he's very quick in the dry, let's not forget, but he really does have something extra in these slippery conditions, and this is not easy. Oulton Park, probably one of the worst circuits you could have with wet tyres on. It's very, very difficult to deal with all the different cambers. There's lots of hills, and Ben Luxton there up the inside. Does Ross Twyman know he's there? Oh, that's very tight through Cascades as they make their way down into Island Bend.
Yeah, some superb battles going on all the way down through the field, but Joe Francis at the moment, well, as we mentioned earlier, Steve, I think he's set out his stall, hasn't he? You could say it would have been sensible to have a bit of a conservative ride and get himself back in the pack, not worry about other people finishing ahead of him as long as he finishes and picks up points. He's gone the other way. He's had his tussle at the front with Harry Coomber, and oh, goodness me, hopefully he's not going to get involved with back markers, but he's obviously decided get a bit of clear track, get out the front, and that way less trouble lies.
Well, maybe. I mean, we've seen throughout the season he's been catching Tom Oliver bit by bit. He managed to get past him as they make their way down into Hizzies. There's Harry Coomber going through, and oh, it's Joe Francis! Oh my word, would you believe it? Joe Francis, number 40 championship leader. You can see he knows perfectly well what that means. You're not allowed to rejoin the circuit after you've lost contact with the bike. And my word, that's championship all change.
Oh, hey, Joe, it's all gone wrong, and he's shaking his hands. But really, Steve, he does know you're absolutely right. There's nobody's fault but his there. Well. Double jeopardy. It's a double points race. He gets knocked, but it means everybody else gets the big points. And there we see the checker flag going out. Harry Coomber crossing to take that win. Well, that is an excellent win by Harry Coomber. You have to say he was up the sharp end right the way through it. He wins from Ross Twyman and Bradley Jones. That will be one very happy Tom Oliver in fourth. David Allingham fifth. Alex Baker, Milo Ward, George Stanley, Josh Hill and Callum Grigger, the top 10. Well, there we see Harry Coomber, Ross Twyman and Bradley Jones on the podium. And the Nitro newcomers, well, David Allingham there. He wins those from Alex Baker and Milo Ward.
Winner of that race, Harry Coomber. You're involved in a nice scrap with Joe Francis to begin with, and then the championship leader fell. Did you see much of the accident at all?
Well, it was one hell of a race. I mean, me and Joe swapping all the way through it, and he just coming down to that second hairpin. You just watched me just grab the brake and went. It was real slippery. Much slipperier than it's been all weekend, to be honest. Real bad. 50
points there. You must be very happy with that.
Oh, real pleased. It was great. Well, it's a great thing for the week, for the championship, because I just knocked down there. But you know, it's good.
Anyone to thank at all, Harry?
I'd like to thank Bradle, great job with the oil, and Scott Finney for doing a great job with the bike. My mum and dad, my head teacher for letting me have the time off, and everybody really, just real good, real thanks.
Always thank the head teacher. Well done, Harry.
Cheers, mate.
Ross Twyman, second position. You came flooding through the field there. You do like these conditions?
Yeah, that was a great race. Yeah, everyone rode really well and managed to get second, so it's good to be back on the podium.
Anyone to thank at all?
Yeah, Brandon Mason Demolition, Brinkman Engineering, Jim Brazier and my dad.
Third place in that race, Bradley Jones. Pretty horrible conditions out there. Oulton Park always very tricky in the wet.
Yeah, that was slippery. Obviously, a few people fell off. That made me think you just keep my own race, keep a nice rhythm. But you obviously got to keep a good pace up at the same time because you got people like Ross and Ben. But Ben obviously unfortunately fell off, and Harry we're trying to catch. But no, apart from that, just ride my own race and try and stick to the main line.
And that's obviously very good for you for third in the championship as well, which must be the aim. You must have a couple of people to thank as well, Bradley.
Yeah, I just want to say a big thanks to my granddad, obviously my mum and dad, to Thundersport, Aprilia, Dunlop, and whoever else has helped me. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Well, we're off for a short break, and we're going to be back here at Oulton Park with more brilliant action from the Aprilia Super Teens. Don't go away.